Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Frank Gore Jr., Southern Miss Golden Eagles, and you listen to FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
It's just a great conference that is at a point right now where they're, I think, clearly the best group of five conference in the country.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
And we got to continue to showcase what our league is about.
You know, make it real big.
That's what she said. 7 teams in the postseason for the Sunbelt Conference. We obviously know the Sunbelt Conference there, Jeremy, but we don't know very much about the opponents that the different Sunbelt teams will be playing. Guys that do are the ones that cover the group of 5 as a whole, and that is the group of 5 guys that join us once again for another super fantastic, huge show. So welcome in there, guys.
Thank you, Dusty. I will correct you. We don't know, especially in bowl season. Nobody knows. So,
yes, but you still lend to the show an air of legitimacy that we just don't have on our own.
Yeah. Well,
we do appreciate you guys coming on and giving us your insight into the bowl.
Y'all are what saves me from doing a stupid parlay bet of like every Sunbelt team is going to win.
I've given up on being factual. I speak my mind, and normally it's wrong. And be prepared to have some incorrect statements on this show.
Oh, well, this is what we specialize in.
I mean, in bowl season, I'm over here looking through these rosters, and I'm trying to keep up with who's actually playing, who's not. How am I supposed to make my bets? How am I supposed to get Christmas presents for my wife when I don't even know who's playing and betting on these games? It's a headache. And I used to look forward to bowl season. Now I just I don't know.
Yeah, I know the transfer portal is kind of hurt that a lot. And then there's, of course, the guys that sort of just jump into the NFL before the bowl games even start. And sometimes they'll even make that announcement before the season seems to end. It's like, I'll be declaring for the NFL. So I do think, though, in the group of 5, I do think bowl games still have a huge importance amongst the fans, amongst the players, amongst the coaches. You guys agree with that?
1,000%.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's like a threshold. I think, obviously everybody wants to be in the playoff, but obviously you're only 2 conference champions got in this year, which is stupid. But then, I think once you get I think the worst games are the mid-tier Power 5 bowl games now that are like your Citrus Bowl or like the Duke's Mayo Bowl, where it's like they're kind of a decent bowl, but half the guys are not going to play. The coaches are gone. But I do agree. In the group of 5, they still care.
I saw a story about Ole Miss and how Lane Kiffin was really proud of his guys because he did a poll and they decided that they were 100% into the bowl game. Like, you had to poll your guys to find that out.
In my opinion, the group of 5, I think it does mean more for these bowl games, but they're having issues. The group of 5, similar to what Power 5 are having. Power 5, they're looking at guys sitting out, and they have to worry about the transfer portal. Group of 5, now we're battling where it's just the transfer portal. Once you enter your name in the transfer portal, you're not playing that bowl game. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these teams play out because, for example, like Miami, Ohio, they're not going to have their quarterback. He transferred out. Granted, he was injured a lot this year already, but you're going to see a lot of that play out in a lot of teams in the group of 5 for what I'm looking at here.
A surprising aspect for the Sunbelt, Thibs, I think you might have heard this too, is that Grayson McCall has announced that even though he's transferring, he 100% fully intends to play the bowl game against East Carolina. I thought that was pretty cool. You don't see that kind of commitment to the team.
Well, there you go, Jeremy. That was my first incorrect statement. So I thought once you entered the transfer portal, you couldn't play in that bowl game.
No, it's basically up to the coach, which I know a lot of coaches that are like, once you enter the portal, they're done with you. Like you're essentially like you're cut off.
Good news for Grayson McCall is he doesn't have a coach.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm
He
the
is the
coach.
coach.
When I say I'm going to
But for all
He
intents
is the coach.
he's gonna be calling the whole
Oh,
offense.
4
For
verts
the bowl
every
game.
play, dude.
That's
Watch,
great.
they'll put up like 50 points. But yeah, we actually have a caller that calls in our show every week, and he gave us a little insight. And McCall's been practicing all week, so he's gonna, as far as they know, he's playing in the bowl game.
So we talk about the bowl games and how they don't mean anything. How do you fix that? Do you make it a preseason game? That way kind of everybody's in there, but then it's we didn't know that, this guy wasn't going to be our quarterback, or this receiver wasn't quite eligible until the second half of the year. I mean, what is the right answer for these bowl games then?
I got a couple theories. I don't want to go too much. I think if the playoff is expanded and they allow the group of 5 to actually have a legitimate shot, which, we shall see, I think that'll help, because then I think it's less of we're disappointed we didn't get a big bowl game, so we're going to not play. So then I think it's like, okay, the top 12 or 16 get in. But then I also think I really, this year it seems different. I really don't like the coaches jumping ship as early as they are, especially right before conference championship games. So I would like to see sort of a dead period. I know they got agents, and I know they got people are going to make phone calls and reporters are going to, break news, but just how a coach supposedly can't talk to a recruit during certain times of the year, I'd like to see a little dead period between, say, I don't know, week 7, 8 and bowl season. And then that way you don't have these coaches jumping ship, and then next thing you know, everybody's in the portal because of the coach. So I think you'd have more of a stable roster and staff going into it. Yeah, but I don't think that's happening.
I personally think you got to make it more of a challenge, harder on these players to actually transfer. I think if you make it harder for guys to transfer, and then on top of that, I don't know how you could make this legal, but scholarship players, in my eyes, if I'm paying your school, I count that bowl season part of the regular season. Now, I'm sure you're going to get agents and you're going to have financial advisors and everything. If you're a top 3 round player, they're going to say you shouldn't play in this game. But I think there has to be like some kind of SOP to get these guys to stay and play these games out, because it's like you have to sign a contract, and that and to me that'll make the games a little more attractive.
The part I have a bigger problem with the whole transfer portal are the guys that go through the motions right now, go through the bowl game, go through spring practice, and then they transfer, where you kind of already have your roster set through spring ball. You kind of have an idea of what you need to pick up last minute over the summer for late qualifiers, transfer portal guys, or whatever. But then you have this guy that you're banking on, and all of a sudden, poof, he's gone. ULM had a guy like that this past year. Grant, you moved on to TCU, first team all Big 12. But that was a guy that they were banking on for defense. And now you have this huge hole in the defense that you have to try to fill.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, you go from the strictest rules ever when we were playing to not, you had COVID and all that. And then you drop in, okay, NIL, they're just going to open it up. No rules, no regulations with the transfer portal on top. So I just don't understand how you go from, you literally can't take a free hamburger from a donor or else you're going to get kicked off the team, to now you can just do whatever you want. And now I can also transfer wherever I want. At some point, as much as I hate the NCAA, they're going to have to step in. And right now there's no accountability by the players. In my opinion, this is free agency. It's all it is. It needs to be treated as such. These kids should be when they sign their scholarship, they should have to sign a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year commitment and negotiate it just like an NFL free agency does. And if they don't want to sign a 3 year scholarship, then that's fine. You bet on yourself 1 year, you get hurt, you're done. Nobody's going to pick you up.
That's what I was just going to say. My bad. Sorry to interrupt you. That may be the future. Every scholarship, you got 1 semester, pal. And if you suck at football, or if you can't get your grades, or like you said, Jeff, you get hurt. I mean, it'd be like these running backs in the NFL. It's like you get hurt. Oh, well, tough break.
One of the things that I was toying around with, because it really hurts the group of 5. when you spend a lot of time developing a player. I know Arkansas State has developed a player who's from England, a guy named Traore, became the number one Sunbelt tight end of the year, and now he's gone after his sophomore season, transferring out. We spent this time, this energy, this money, this all it takes to develop a player. And now he's just, somebody comes in and says, we can pay you $100,000 NIL to come over here. Is there a way to charge a developmental fee some way? Is there some way to prevent these big high money programs from coming in and just taking players that we spent so much time turning into football players, only to be told, I'm taking off. Thanks for the skills.
Jeremy's just trying to get a check out of Texas State since over half the Red Bulls went to San Marcos.
What is this? What's this podcast ratings? Is like TVG, PG, 14. What is it?
Oh, drop all the F-bombs you want, man.
It's bullshit. Like they're using Group of Five as how they used to use, like, or how we play. It's like JUCO. We talked about this on our last podcast. You come into a Group of Five school and you're just trying to better yourself and hoping that Power Five school in the state is going to recruit you. And then that NIL money is just the icing on top. Group of Five is not going to be able to compete with that, or, at least 50% of the schools are not going to be able to. So I don't have an answer as to how you maintain this bubble from exploding because guys just going and taking advantage of your La Monroes, MTSUs, et cetera.
What I think you're going to see is, and the pendulum always swings hard one way once it opens up. I think it will swing back. I think you're going to see a lot of these kids, and it's just going to take time, unfortunately, that they go into the portal. And I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but it is not a great success rate of kids going into the portal and landing at an equivalent, level of program. A lot of times they have to transfer down, which is not what they want, but they've been kind of sold this false bill where it's like, oh, I'm going to go into the portal, I'm automatically going to get a spot somewhere else. It's like, no, dude, it's doesn't really work that way. And I know it was less than 50% of them that actually find a spot at the same level. So I think it's just going to take time for that information to get out and the word to get around. Like, hey, maybe this isn't, the best thing for me.
And not only that, but a lot of these guys that you see, they caught on with this school, they caught on with that school. They're not given a scholarship. They've coming on as walk-ons.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you think, oh wow, he got the same deal from Toledo, and he's getting at Ohio State, but he's not. So
I'm going to sound just like an old man here, but
yes,
it makes me like, I feel sorry for the guys because they're not getting to build that relationships and have those experiences. When it's like, getting to a college at 17, 18 years old, being there for 4 or 5 years, building those relationships. Granted, are they getting more money in their pockets? Yeah, God bless them. Good job. But you're not, it's college football is not what it used to be. And it's sad. And I hope that pendulum does swing, Jeff. I hope we get back some type of normalcy, but it makes sense. Something's new, something's attractive, and everybody looks like they're taking full advantage of this rule that hopefully has some kind of cap that has to get put on it eventually. But you can't blame them. I mean, I'm sorry, but if I'm a 20-year-old kid in a Power Five school says, hey, we probably have about $100,000 there for you. I mean, I'm a loyal friend, Sprouse, but
hey, you gave me $500. I've been going,
but but the thing about that though, Jess, is you would have not when Glenn Ellerby takes your magnet and puts it underneath Jadarius Hamlin's magnet on a Tuesday because you had 2 bad snaps in a row and he drops you on the depth chart, you wouldn't have transferred because of that.
No,
and that's the kids that are getting left out, is the kids that it's just like not. The kids that are great and going to Power Five, like, it sucks, but whatever. But it's these guys that they're just not playing, and they think, like, what film are you gonna show? Like, what are you gonna sell to these other guys?
That pendulum's gonna swing whenever you have, like I think Jeff said last week, there's 1,000 guys enter the portal. When 500 of those guys don't get picked up and they realize they lost their scholarship, those stories are gonna get out there, and kids are gonna be scared to enter that portal. It's like, okay, is the juice worth the squeeze?
You're gonna, there's got to be some push too. I would imagine. If I was a high school coach at a big time high school program, a Hoover, a Spain Park, a St. Thomas Aquinas, they got kids that are getting screwed, that are not getting recruited to Group of Five schools because they're hitting the portal to recruit. Or, we talked to Jeff's JUCO coach, Coach Beam. the JUCOs are getting screwed. So maybe
Oh,
they'll start pushing up and stop. That's a big relationship piece. And, the good recruiters have great relationships with the high school coaches and the JUCO coaches. And maybe they'll start severing some of those relationships and those guys. I don't know, man, but something's got to give.
See, Jeremy, the grass is not always greener when you talked about portaling over to the group of 5 guys because they had better NIL deals.
I got your deal and I'm looking at it. It looks sweet, but I might be sticking here now.
You're going to stay. Yeah. You might not get the PT over here.
So with that, guys, we brought you on to talk bowl games. It all kicks off next Friday on December 16th. Troy and UTSA headed to play with Mickey Mouse in Orlando at the Cure Bowl. This, to me, is one of the best matchups straight out of the gate. And 2 teams that I think are really going to get after it. I like Troy in it just because I feel like what we saw in Troy for the Sun Belt Conference Championship game was really the Troy that they've become in the second half of the year. I see them rolling in this one, and maybe that's just my biased take. What do y'all see out of UTSA in this game?
Oh, you go first, Rouse?
Yeah, you can go, Jess.
Let me get my just ignorance out of the way. I for one would say I love the Sun Belt. I'm heavy on the Sun Belt. Love it. I think they're probably the greatest fans of Group of 5. I love Troy. I love Troy. I think Troy has probably the first or second best defense in the Group of 5. But Frank Harris is extremely, extremely good, and they have receivers that are extremely, extremely good. I'm gonna keep saying extremely because they're an extremely, extremely good team. They played Coastal Carolina, who I think got exposed, but they didn't have a healthy Grace McCall. They're gonna have a healthy Frank Harris, who is probably a little pissed off that he wasn't mentioned for the Heisman either. And I think he has something to prove. I'm not saying that Troy is going to lose. I'm not saying that UTSA is going to roll over Troy, but Troy will not roll over UTSA. I don't see that one bit. I think it's going to be a great ball game. You're going to have a great defense against one of the greatest offenses in the Group of 5. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be one of the better Group of 5 bowls of 2022.
Jesse, do you think it's going to be one of those situations where it was last year, like Appalachian State versus Western Kentucky? And on paper, it looked like it was going to be this good defensive versus offensive game. And then Western Kentucky, you get a Zappy out there who was destined to throw a trillion touchdowns, go out there and throw a trillion touchdowns.
Jeremy, that's an extremely good point because I thought App State was going to roll over West Kentucky, and I was completely wrong. I told it before the show started. I said I'm going to be completely incorrect. I would be so happy for Troy if they were able to go out there and just, in my opinion, shock the world if they did to UTSA. Because in my opinion, again, I think UTSA is probably one of the better Group of 5 teams.
Jesse, all I know is that there's a good chance that at midnight tonight, John Summerall is going to appear in your mirror while you're shaving or something, and that'll be it. And you'll have 7 days.
Hey, Coach Summerall, he's one of the best coaches out there. Troy's blessed to have him, and if they do win that game, he's going to be the reason behind it because he's got those boys ready to go.
Yeah,
he really does.
It really is, offense versus defense. With Troy's defense, UTSA. We were in San Antonio for the Conference USA Championship. They're scary on offense. It's like they are really, really scary. Now, what I will say for Troy is the second half of the season, they really found a run game. And North Texas did run it okay against UTSA in that conference championship game. I think, like Jesse said, Frank Harris just announced he's coming back next year for season number 9, I think, for him. And also Gunnar Watson did too, I think, for Troy. So I think both teams there's going to be no, let down, not motivated, some BS excuse for this game. I think really, really good game. I kind of like UTSA to win it. Just very close. I'm thinking 35-31 kind of game.
That's and Jeremy in my head now, Sprouse. And now I'm thinking back at the Middle Tennessee game, and MTSU's got that good D line. They were getting pressure on UTSA. Troy's got a great D line. They're going to get pressure on UTSA. True. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I've seen him twice. I saw him play at MTSU, and then obviously the conference championship game is I mean, the thing is, Frank Harris doesn't make a ton of mistakes, and when you got him covered in the back end, he makes something happen with his feet. So it's just going to be. I think Summerall's going to have a good game plan to try and keep him in the pocket and not let him get outside. And they got a great running back, Kavarian Barnes. He's a freshman. Their starter went down, and he had a hell of a championship game. I mean, he had 28 carries, 175 yards, only 1 touchdown. But he's a stud. But Gunnar Watson played incredible. So I think he's going to be the key to the game. You're not going to completely stop the Roadrunner offense, but if you can keep scoring and not just get in a hole where you're one-dimensional offensively, that's where I think you're going to see a ball game that ends up going down to the wire, and that's what we all want. So I think it's tight. I think it's close, and I'm going to give the nod to the Roadrunners just because they've been in so many close games this year where it's like down to the last play, down to the last drive, and they've come out on top, and they just have that kind of experience. But either way, it's going to be, I think, one of my favorite ball game of the season. I think.
Do we know? Is Corey and Clark still hurt?
Yeah, I think he's out for the season.
And then is Cephas? Cephas got hurt on the first play of the game. Now he kept
but
playing.
I think he's okay. I think he'll be good for the ball game.
I'm sticking with what I got.
And rumor is, Troy is not that good on the Hail Mary pass. So Frank Harris making just chunk it down the field.
They have no defense for the Hail Mary pass. One thing about UTSA, I am scared of any team that gets an opposing coach fired from the championship.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary just by itself. Well, let's move on to the next game then.
Are you guys not making Jeremy? You didn't make a pick, did you?
A pick? Well, I'm scared.
Roy favored by 2 points, by the way.
I you know what? I don't know much about UTSA. I really don't to say much about the Roadrunners. They sort of appeared in the top 25 late in the season. All of a sudden, people were talking about them. I've been following Troy the entire time, and they have gone from a team that was strictly defense to a team that found an offensive wrinkle, which they didn't have at the beginning of the season. So I feel like they're coming in really hot. That being said, hearing about the quarterback for UTSA coming in, foregoing the draft to have just to wreak more havoc on Conference USA does give me some pause. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than Troy is normally used to. I'm going to stick with my fellas, go with the Sunbelt Coach of the Year, John Summerall, and avoid having him haunting me in my dreams.
Saturday night, we get some more FunBelt action as they go against Conference USA member Rice in the Lending Tree Bowl, which I believe is the one in Mobile. Is that correct? It's so. Always I can never keep track of the different sponsors of the game.
It was the GoDaddy Bowl, and then it was the Dollar General Bowl until I think last year.
And now it is all about the money.
Lending Tree.
Yeah, I think you get like a pretty good loan rate if you attend. Like
that's the bowl. That's the bowl gift.
the swag is a refinance. Yeah,
that's right. You can put in a new bathroom with that.
That's great.
Southern Miss favored by essentially a touchdown, 6.5 points. 9-3 against the spread are the Golden Eagles. I feel like these are two teams you really don't know what you're going to get. I was at the game when Rice beat Louisiana Lafayette to snap the winning streak there that the Cajuns had, but Rice really just didn't wow me in that. With that said, they did have some wow games though, even in their blowout there against Charlotte. They still looked pretty good in the game. Just a lot of turnovers in that game. I really don't know who to pick in this. Rice 5-7 overall, getting in, of course, because they're the Harvard of the South. But I'm still sticking FunBelt and going Southern Miss.
Yeah, I agree with you. These two teams, it's kind of like you said, you really don't know what you're going to get. Only because me and Jesse saw Southern Miss at Troy, and they were in that game until the very end. They got a really good defense. Their defensive line got after University of Miami's D line, I think, or O line in week 1 or 2. And then I'm a big Frank Gore Jr. fan, so I'm gonna take Southern Miss.
I love Southern. Oh, sorry, Jeff, you go.
No, I was just say real quick. I mean, I agree. I think the biggest problem for Rice is they turn the ball over too much, and anytime you turn the ball over, you're going to give the opposing offense extra possessions. And I think they ranked, if I'm not mistaken, dead last in the country in turnovers this year. So I just think that Southern Miss is an overall better football team, and I think they'll get turnovers, and that'll be the big story of the game.
It's like Rice did play Southern Miss back in 2020 and whipped that Eagle ass back 2 years ago. But I really like Southern Miss this year. I think that team has gotten better. Y'all are saying they're inconsistent, but I'm sorry, I should have said but. I keep thinking we're on our podcast. I think Southern Miss is also going to be one of the top teams in the Sun Belt next year. I'm calling it. They got a lot of returners coming back next year. They really didn't get whipped by any Sun Belt team except for Georgia State, which you talk about up and down team. That's an up and down team. I like Southern Miss in this game, and I think they're actually going to cover. So give me the Golden Eagles, and they're going to go lead. They're going to carry that into next year and have a great season next year.
See, now if I'm a betting man, I never rely on
me.
No, don't. I rely on you more than I would rely on Southern Miss. I'll give you that. Southern Miss is just one of those when they win games, it's always like a sort of like a mishap that has happened or a fourth quarter miracle comeback. I mean, there's something about Will Hall. There's Will Hall magic in Hattiesburg that has somehow infiltrated the team, and they're playing, to me, in my mind, way over their heads. If Rice has any veteran aspect to it, I think Rice has an edge in that regard. But if not, if they're just as sort of young as Southern Miss, and Southern Miss does have Frank Gore, which is a huge plus. I think Southern Miss pulls it out, but I would be surprised if Rice doesn't overachieve and at least beat that spread. So I think it's going to be down to a field goal.
It's funny how they pick these teams for these bowl games, because I couldn't pick. You can't choose two better teams from both conferences that are similar to each other, because they both surprised everyone with certain wins. You know, Rice in the Conference USA and Southern Miss in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job building storylines.
They really are.
They're doing a good job.
Monday, December 19th, the Teal Field gets invaded at the Myrtle Beach Bowl by Marshall and UConn. I didn't even know UConn was still playing football, guys.
They are.
Yeah.
UConn's playing football, and Marshall better look out, because
okay, because I thought this was sort of a shit game, but you're telling me.
Jim Mora has. I talked about it a few weeks ago. I am shocked that his name is not being brought up when some of these quote unquote bigger jobs open up, because he's got UConn. Well, I don't know why he wouldn't.
He's in beautiful Connecticut. He don't want to leave that place. Sun shining, icicles on his roof. His house is haunted, for God's sakes. He's loving it.
I don't know how close.
You said roof.
I don't know how close the University of Connecticut is to like the ESPN HQ. Maybe that's his play. He's going to retire and slide into an ESPN job. Maybe Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp will get run out of town and he'll take over. But no. He's got UConn playing some ball, and Jesse will probably talk about their running back. That guy passes every eye test that you can imagine. You just see him on TV, and you're like, that guy's an NFL guy. Now, Marshall, huge disappointment for me this season. I thought they were going to come right in and compete in the Sun Belt, which, you know, the Sun Belt East was kind of all over the place this year. But I think UConn is going to win the game. I'm sorry. This is one where I think UConn has been so bad for so long. They're playing well. They got a bowl game. They are all in on this. And Marshall, on the other hand, we should have won. We thought we were going to maybe win the Sun Belt or at least compete for it, and we didn't. There might be a little bit of a lag on them, but give me the Fighting Jim Mora's football school, UConn.
Are those words you ever thought you would say in your life?
No, football school UConn or the Fighting Jim Morris?
Fighting Jim Morris.
Yes, all the above.
No, didn't UConn? This season was a lot like that 2007, 2008 year, and I think UConn at one point was like a top 5 team that season, or maybe I'm making that up. This was the year when everybody was every time somebody got in the top 3, they lost every single time. You had Wake Forest, you had West Virginia, you had Pitt, you had UConn, you had University of South Florida. But after that, no, I did not think I would say UConn football school ever.
Sprouse, you got to turn the Xbox off. You're living in a world of lies and fantasy.
Well, the thing about it is I went to the Orange Bowl that year and I had tickets like the whole season. And I'm thinking, here comes this huge game. And I get Wake Forest v. Louisville in the Orange Bowl. And I was like, I don't know anybody on these two teams. But anyway.
Well,
yeah,
Jesse, what do you think of this
I agree with you that it's the UConn show. I feel like this is their playoff, their national title type game. They are plus 10 in the game, and I feel like UConn can slip in there. Now, don't get me wrong, I love some Charlie Huff, and I'd love to see him doing his shuffle on the sidelines. But I think you're right. I think it's a Jim Mora and the Huskies all day long.
I do think Marshall. They did have that very disappointing stretch after beating Notre Dame, and everybody thought, oh, these guys are going to be world breakers. And then they had that long patch of just ineptitude. But they do have a really good defense, especially a rush defense. I don't know anything about this running back, this guy that passes the eye test.
He passes the eye test.
I'm waiting for Jesse to explain.
Well, honestly, it's going to be on record. I'm over here looking. He had a really, really good game against Utah State week 1, but he hasn't done much after that.
It doesn't matter. He looks like he does a lot.
He looks monstrous. He's a sophomore. His name's Nathan Carter. We watched the guy against Utah State. Made Utah State look like a freaking just Division II school. And this is after Utah State had a phenomenal year last year, basically almost going undefeated. Now, it looks like Sprouse that he's been average rest of the year. But UConn, it seems like a season where they're meant to win this bowl game. I've enjoyed Marshall. I think Marshall's been kind of inconsistent as well this year. UConn, they haven't really been inconsistent. They've just been, slowly kind of steady. We may beat you, we may not. We don't know. I think that UConn will win this game against Marshall. And I think there's going to be a lot of people in the Sun Belt that are going to be very, very surprised that Marshall's lost to UConn. But UConn is not the UConn Huskies from last year and years past. I think this team is going to be a good team going forward. I see you, Jeff.
I think you guys are nuts. I don't know what you guys are saying.
No, dude.
It's bowl season.
Yeah,
Marshall's got 12 guys sitting out next for all we know.
No, I mean, not that I've seen. I mean, but
probably not.
I think that Marshall's quarterback played really well against Georgia State. Cam Fancher, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he's a dual threat guy, and every time they needed to play, he made a play, whether it was his legs and his arms, and I think he's going to be the difference. I don't think UConn has seen a guy like him. And Jeremy, like you said, I mean, Marshall's defense, they had a great defense.
Yeah.
So, if they can make UConn one-dimensional, which I think they will, I think UConn's dead in the water. I would say they cover the 10.
The only game on Wednesday, December 21st, is the infamous NOLA Bowl. One year I'll actually make it down there again. I went down several years ago to cover for Arkansas State, Louisiana Tech.
Oh, wait, you were at that game? I was at that game. We should have connected.
We should have. South Alabama, Western Kentucky. I refuse to pick South Alabama in another thing ever. I might love the governor and love the Jags.
You do love
Screw them at 10-2. They'll be 10-3.
Before you guys weigh in, I do want to say Western Kentucky has permanently scarred me after that Appalachian State game. As far as I know, Western Kentucky is going to put up 100 points on South Alabama. I know they don't have Zappy anymore. Thank God he's with New England, but it seems like they kind of picked up where they left off.
Well, and Reed was in the transfer portal after the last game, but as of I think this morning, he's coming back.
Whoa.
So, which there's another thing that keeps happening. It's these guys enter the portal, and then I don't know.
I think what happens is they go in the portal and they're like, "Oh, nobody's calling my phone."
There's a shitload of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, that's true. If you're Austin Reed, and then you look and you got the kid from Oklahoma State in the portal, you got the Clemson kid in the portal. Where are you going to go? But I'm with you. In South Alabama, if it wasn't for the close game against Troy, we'd be sitting here talking about them as one of the best teams in the group of 5. So here I am.
UCLA game.
Well, yeah, you got that game too. South Alabama is 2 plays away from playing USC in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, but you know, I'm gonna pick South Alabama defense, but I know I know Western's gonna put up 65 points, and that'll be it. But I'm taking the Jags. They've had too good of a year.
I don't see Western Kentucky going in there and just blowing South Alabama out of the water. This is an App State last year. This is going to be a well coached team. I'm just kidding. I love App State. South Alabama. South Alabama. They've had a phenomenal year this year, playing in the Dome in New Orleans. And honestly, look at travel too. I think that they're going to have maybe a home field advantage as well in New Orleans. So give me South Alabama over West Kentucky.
Are me and Jesse in line on every pick so far? I don't like this.
I don't think so. Not the first game.
I'm actually
UTSA Troy was first.
Oh crap! Now we are.
A relationship is brewing between you two. Like
no,
I'm gonna change. When we record our podcast, I'm gonna change every one of my picks. I never said UTSA.
Hell, my picks will probably be different on our podcast because I'll just feel different at that time. But no, I mean seriously though, the home field advantage is going to probably play a key part. I bet they travel well to New Orleans.
Yeah, and I saw Western Kentucky play at Middle this year, and they've been just kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You don't know what team's going to show up for Western Kentucky. So that's going to be the biggest thing. Are they going to be the offense that puts up 500 yards, scores 40-something points, or are they going to lay an egg? And I think with LaDamian Webb for South Alabama, they're going to control that run game because Western Kentucky's defense, they are not great against the run. And I think it's going to keep Austin Reed and Malachi Corley on the sideline. And I think South Alabama's too good. I think they win this game.
That's my problem when it comes to bowls.
That was the game that was scaring me to death for the Sun Belt, was the Western Kentucky game. So, and like I said, I think it's because of what happened last year after seeing what I thought was a pretty tough defense from Appalachian State just get demolished. It was just hard to watch. So, okay, good. No, you made me feel good about it. Put that big $5 on the
Western Kentucky's has had a lot better year this year than I thought they were going to be. I think in the preseason show, I had them winning like 2 games. And then they come out and they were just destroying teams. But then yet there's a game in my head that I just cannot get out. I mean, North Texas went up there and just beat the crap out of West Kentucky. So that's the game I keep seeing and why I'm South Alabama. However, there were 9 other showings that I, for some reason, can't see.
Well, and Troy beat Western this year too, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they've.
All right,
we'll see.
Jeremy, put your wallet on it. South Alabama, they'll take care of business.
Done.
That might be out of all the games we've gone through so far. That's probably my most confident Sun Belt.
Oh no,
that means do not bet on it.
Not touch it.
It's a lock.
Here's what's going to happen.
Game. It's a home game.
That's what you call the swag bear trap of the week.
Western's going to go down there too now. You don't think Western's going to go down 65?
You realize how close Mobile is to New Orleans?
No, I get it.
Right there. Yeah,
I get it.
If I lose this bet, though, I'm sending John Sumrall to your house.
You're gonna get a tweet or a text, and like South Alabama's gonna be up by a touchdown really, really late, and it's gonna look like it is like no chance at all. And Swag Bear here is he's gonna be fighting it, and he's not gonna be able to resist. Congratulations, South Alabama. And then some miracle is going to happen and they're going to blow the game.
Or it's a 4-point spread. They get the last second field goal. Even
that's right.
Push.
Yeah.
I'm taking even 7.5 points. I'm taking South Alabama. I think they show out. They're a good team this year.
They are very good.
A lot of cocky confidence being displayed by Jesse down there. So I'm liking it. I like the feeling.
I'm very cocky until right before kickoff. Then I start freaking out. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah.
Western will go up 7-0 on the first drive, and Jesse's like,
it's over.
My God. I call my bookie and I'm like, I did not hit that. That was my nephew. I did not hit that button.
The good old Shreveport, Louisiana gets to host the Louisiana Raging Cajuns and the Houston Cougars. Cougars favored by essentially a touchdown, 6.5 points. Here's the crazy stat for you, though. The Cougars, 4-8 in their last 12 games against the spread. But as we were talking about pre-show before we started recording, I get the impression that these are two teams that could care less about being at this game, going through the motions, and it's all a matter of who wants to be there a little bit more than the rest. I like Mike DeZormo and really pushing his Cajuns to put the exclamation point, showing that he can go 7-6 in his first year.
You know, here's the thing too. Can you think of two teams? I mean, Appalachian State was disappointing. In the Sun Belt, there are disappointing teams, but two teams that were so disappointing for their respective conferences. Houston was supposed to be like a world beater, supposed to kind of take over where Cincinnati was going to leave off. Didn't happen. I think the Cajuns were picked by almost everybody to win the West. Not by me and Thibs, though.
No,
Thibs,
not us. Not us.
Thibs and I knew there was going to be some problems. But I kind of agree with Thibs, too. It's kind of, I don't know if it's like nobody wants to be there, but I kind of see the Cajuns just sort of throwing in the towel pretty early on this.
Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I don't understand. I don't see why Louisiana wouldn't feel like they should be. Like, if I was Louisiana, I'd be thrilled to be in a bowl right now because Houston, I get 1,000%. I thought they were going to be a playoff team at the beginning of the year. But Louisiana, I had the sense that they may not even win 5 games because of all they lost, Billy Napier leaving. And then, you know, they showed up and they won some big games here to get them bowl eligible. If anything, I do like Houston winning this game. I'm going to pick Houston because I just don't think Louisiana's got it. But when it comes to like being motivated to be there, I'll give Louisiana the upper hand. I think they're going to be there fired up and wanting to actually compete. Houston may walk out there thinking they're just going to get done by, you know, running a few plays. But I'm going to say Houston's going to win. But I think Louisiana will be more fired up to be there, if that makes sense.
Ooh.
I know that Tank Dell, Houston's receiver, declared for the draft. I don't know if he's playing in the bowl game. I don't think he is. And I think that might be the case with a few Houston guys. I kind of am on the same page as the swag bear here. I think Louisiana, you know, preseason, if you were talking to them about going to Shreveport for this bowl game, they might be But then you're halfway through the year, you're thinking, ooh, we may not win 6 games. Also, I think for the coaching staff, this is a week or two that we talked about it last week on our deal where they're going to work the hell out of some guys, some freshmen, some young guys that haven't been playing a whole lot. They are going to be playing their asses off in practice, and some of them might get some time in the game. And I think Louisiana's got everybody on that roster better be ready to prove something. And then if Tank Dell's not playing, I'm not sure if Clayton Tune is playing the quarterback. Dana Holgerson, sometimes I don't know where the hell he's at. Their defense is arguably the worst defense I've ever seen in college football. I mean, they gave up like 80 points to SMU. I think the Cajuns win this ball game. Wow. I think they're going to be ready to roll, but we shall see.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Sprouse. I don't know what Houston Cougar team's going to show up, and until that's kind of defined on if Clayton Tune especially is playing, then I kind of like the Cajuns too. I just think Houston has underachieved this year. I think they're kind of done. And man, it seemed like they're midway through the season, their locker room was kind of fractured. Seemed like the players could care less to be there. I know they rattle off a couple wins towards the end of the season, but I don't know. I think, Louisiana being, close to home, I don't know. I think they take it. I think they win this game.
I'm going to call a random call here, Jeremy. I'm going to say this game because every bowl season you have 2 teams that just end up getting a brawl. This game has a brawl. There's a brawl. There's a fight in this game.
I could see that.
Well, when the Cajuns are involved, there's always a good shot that there's going to be a fist fight. So that could be true. But tell you what, Thibs, these guys got me convinced. I was totally thinking, yeah, Houston's going to win this game. Now I'm the opposite. I'm taking my $5. I'm pulling it out of the Houston pool and putting it in the Cajun pool. And I'm calling it my group of 5 guys bet. Because when it comes through, I'm treating you all guys to some beer.
That's what I'm talking about. You look at Houston, you go a year ago, Houston beats Auburn in I think the Birmingham Bowl. And then they come out this year and they beat UTSA in like 3 or 4 overtimes week 1. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Houston's about it. And then what an all-time collapse.
I saw a couple of Houston games. I was like, God, this team's awful.
What was the game that really defined that? We're like, oh wow, was it
Memphis.
Kansas? No,
Memphis.
Well, they lost to Kansas, didn't they?
Memphis is the game they gave up. Or wait,
they came back and
they came back and beat Memphis.
Yeah.
SMU, I know they gave up 77 points.
There's one game up there that you were like, well, I know the Kansas they lost, but Kansas was a better team than usual. But
Kansas, they lost to Texas Tech. Hold on, let's do a little research on this.
Yeah, if only we had a machine that could.
I know.
My phone just really stinks. Where's Tyler tipped in that? Sorry for the awkward silence.
Yeah, it's got to be the Kansas game because they really, I mean,
I'm thinking they ain't that
I'm
bad.
looking at their schedule and I'm like, they're not that bad. I mean, they lost to Tulane in overtime. They came back and beat Memphis. They beat Navy. They beat South Florida. They
beat the crap out of East Carolina.
They lost to Tulsa. That's a bad loss.
Well, Navy.
Give me the Cajuns. We got to move on before I change my mind. Take that bet out, Jeremy.
I'm keeping Houston. I think Houston takes care of Louisiana.
All right, Thibs, shut the lid on this one.
The final day of bowl games, December 27th, Tuesday. You have the Camellia Bowl and the Birmingham Bowl that was aforementioned. Kicking off that morning is the Camellia Bowl with Georgia Southern and Buffalo. Buffalo to me is another team, much like UConn. Where'd they come from? I like Van Trees. I like the Eagles. I love what Helton's done with that program. And I think this is the feather in his cap. He wasn't quite ready to compete in the East, but he definitely gets the postseason win.
Van Trees came from Buffalo, correct?
Yeah, that's his little storyline for you.
Another great,
Georgia Southern, put your $5 on it. I think, well, what Clay Helton's done at Georgia Southern has been nothing short of remarkable, and I think they cap the season off with a win.
You want to talk about a home field advantage? There's going to be 5 or 6 Buffalo fans in Montgomery for this game, and I have a feeling Georgia Southern is going to busload over there. It's an 11 a.m. local kickoff, which is interesting. I may take my talents over there.
I just thought the funniest thing, you should just go and just be shirtless, blue, be the biggest Buffalo fan there is.
Me?
Just film yourself. Yes, that'd be hilarious. And you'd be the only Buffalo
I'll get on
fan
TV.
there. Yeah,
I'll get on TV for sure.
I assure you there will not be many people in the Crampton Bowl.
Well, yeah, it's a interesting
Unique
one.
Place.
Yeah, 11 a.m. local kickoff. Buffalo does have a really good defense, but yeah, I like Georgia Southern. I think they're another one that nobody thought they'd be. I mean, I know they only won 6 games, but nobody thought they would be a 6-win team this year. That's for sure.
Absolutely not.
And so especially to come off beating your rival to get bowl eligible, they're motivated. They're thinking they're going to be competing next year. So I like Georgia Southern in that one. Probably pretty big, actually.
And Buffalo had to go on a prayer to beat Akron of all teams to get
in a game rescheduled game too. Didn't they play that last weekend?
Yeah.
Conference championship weekend, and then they just sprinkled some action in there for us.
Thank you, Mac.
Yeah.
A little extra. Yeah, I don't know what to think of this game. I don't know much about Buffalo, except historically they've been a very tough team. I do what Clayton has done in Statesboro. It has been nothing less than a miracle, considering that they've really transformed how the team plays football. It's I don't think we at FunBelt had any real expectations out of Georgia Southern. And then they came along and played some really good football, really high offensive football. Van Treese was just prolific at how many yards he scored. And to see him get to play Buffalo at the end of the year in this great bowl game, what a great story. You have to think though that Buffalo wants to come and kick their ass, right? But then again, I imagine Van Treese was he was a what do you call it, graduate transfer. So
yeah.
Maybe, he's like a 9th-year guy.
A little different. Yeah. He's been around.
He's like 31. So but that's not the big game that day. What's the big game, Thibodeau?
To end the Sun Belt
bowl
season. The names are great, but I just don't think this is going to be the same class of game or caliber of game that we were all expecting there at Legion Field in Birmingham. Or excuse me, they moved it to Protective, and it's no longer at the dump of Legion.
Thank God.
It's now downtown Birmingham, Coastal Carolina, and East Carolina. We know Grace McCall will be there for the Teal Chickens, but no Jamie Chadwell, who has found religion and moved into Virginia to take on the Liberty job.
Who could have guessed that he was such a religious guy? I never really got that from him, but apparently
4 million reasons a year.
The mullet convinced me that he was probably pretty up there religious last year. This game, I'm going to take a pass because I really don't know. I know you can't take a pass on it. East Carolina, is the running back healthy? Is he
Keaton
playing?
Mitchell.
Yeah, if Mitchell's he going to play or is he? I mean, do we have any idea?
I hadn't heard
If
anything
he's
about him
playing,
not
As far as I
playing.
know.
If he's playing, I don't know what Coastal's morale is going to be. I mean, I don't know if I know we're joking. We're saying McCall's going to be there running the offense, and he might, and it might be a fun first half. But what I've seen East Carolina do this year, it was a lucky win against BYU. Don't get me started on that one again. I like East Carolina. Coastal has been really suspect this year. Give me East Carolina. I don't think they cover about 10.5, but I think they'll take care of business. They'll run the ball on Coastal's defense. Give me East Carolina.
yeah, because Coastal Carolina was pretty much huffing the same gas as Southern Miss in terms of winning very close games. I think what Coastal Carolina liked to do was come out with a lead and then sort of let the defense prevent the other team from finally catching up. So I don't know if they can continue that kind of thing against East Carolina.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell had like 300 all-purpose yards in their finale. Coastal, you just look at their last two performances, and it's hard to pick them. I mean, they just look. Now, granted, I think they probably heard the Chadwell rumors right before that James Madison game, and so that had an effect. And then, combination of that plus Troy being as good as Troy is what did that. McCall saying he's going to play, that's a little weird. I don't know
He's
how.
going to Liberty.
He probably is going to Liberty, even though he was on Twitter talking trash about Liberty. Liberty was highlighting Chadwell by putting like former Coastal players on there, which, by the way, every team does, just FYI, Coastal folks. But he was talking trash, so I don't know if
Sprouse, they haven't looked good since probably the first half against App State. That's the last time I was like, this is a dominant team.
And then
granted, I know that's when McCall kind of jacked up his foot or whatever, but ever since that first half, I've never been so happy because I picked Coastal to beat App State that game. I always talk about the bets that I won, never about the ones I lost. And that second half, when App State started coming back, ever since then, they just kind of been playing worse week after week after week until they got beat by 47 points by James Madison and then 47 points by Troy.
I just don't see it. And I think there's just going to be no level of respect on the sideline. I feel like, I mean, maybe they love McCall that much.
That's why I was wondering. Maybe,
but I don't know. I mean, I don't know the guy at all. He doesn't really, I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a guy that is like a locker room guy everybody loves. Not that they hate him, but just
put yourself in your shoes. You're now you're a junior at MTSU.
Yeah, Jeff Murphy just came to me. Yeah, I know.
Hey, I'm going back to Cal. We're gonna go. I'm transferring to Power 5 Cal. But hey,
Rev, I audible.
Daddy Bowl.
Rev, I audible. I swear to God, I audible.
I didn't think of it that way. I was kind of thinking that Coastal Carolina's offense would be like, hey, we got our leader for one last game. That's great. But you're right. He's not jumping into the NFL and moving on. He's leaving the team.
I think I can do better without y'all next year. So I'm going to go follow Dad to Liberty.
It'd be like, Thibs, I'm leaving the show, but I'm going to host this one show with you with the group of 5 guys.
And it'll be great. Don't worry. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I won't be flibbity jibbity, just throwing up passes just for fun.
And then he shows up drunk.
Well,
it happens.
Well, one last thing real quick too. I mean, it's great that McCall's back, but their defense in the last 2 games gave up 92 points and over like 600 yards passing.
A good point, Jeff.
Yeah, McCall.
He's not suiting up playing safety.
He might have to go out.
He's not that much of a
But
team
call him
guy.
up. If he's gonna be a sideline just drinking a beer, like, all right, put me in safety. I'm gonna take care of this business. Goodness
By the
gracious.
way, McCall has been linked to Auburn of all places.
Oh, really? So
He was
I
hooking
was
up with
assuming
threes.
Liberty, but maybe he is going to a Power 5 school.
I thought Liberty too, but somebody told me no, he won't go to Liberty. But he's been contacted by. I think he's going to visit Auburn tomorrow, so I guess we'll see him hooking
So
up.
Hugh
with
Freeze was like,
Yeah,
so
first
now-
Hugh Freeze leaves Liberty, and he's like, hang on a second, don't go to Liberty. Don't come over to Auburn. with me."
Well, now here's the other thing. I mean, these guys that opt out of bowl games to go play in the NFL, I mean, if Hugh Freeze is talking to him, is Hugh Freeze like, damn it, Grayson, do not play in this bowl game? I mean,
I would.
Oh, well,
I mean, because if he's in the portal and it's not official, and God forbid he does hurt himself, then Hugh Freeze is like, I didn't talk to him. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about it.
well, he only said he was going to dress for the game and play, but when he's warming up, he's going to tweak a hammy and not be able to play. And
Well,
I say that with air quotes of he tweaks a hammy.
And they won't have their backup quarterback though, Carpenter.
Yeah, because he got
arrested.
he's got a.
I didn't hear about this one. What'd he do?
He apparently slammed a young lady on the sidewalk for refusing his advances.
And what's funny about there's nothing funny about this. His defense is, I wasn't even there. I was at my house at the time.
Is this after the Troy game?
No, this was like this past weekend.
Like yesterday, yeah. Right after McCall put his name in the portal, he was like, "Oh, great! I'm the starting quarterback at Coastal." And
Hey, ladies.
Yeah.
That didn't work out for him. So,
Oh my God, I did not hear about that. Jesus.
maybe in a way, McCall has to. Start
East Carolina
playing.
wins
Could be
big.
true.
East
Yeah,
Carolina big.
There's too many distractions right now in
Too
Conway.
many. My God, we just spent
I-
10 minutes talking about distractions just for one team.
Yeah, I think that it's just too much. And with that, East Carolina is trying to make a name for themselves back in the Carolinas to be kind of that premier G5 behind Clemson. I think it's Pirates all day.
Well said.
yeah, I agree.
Well, if the ghost of John Summerall shows up in your mirror for picking against Sunbelt Thibs, don't come crawling to me for protection, because there's nothing that's going to stop him from murdering you in your sleep.
So I have the Sun Belt winning.
Here
I
we
got
go.
about 3 for sure here for the Sun Belt and the bowl seats,
Okay.
and that's probably about right.
All right. What did we do last year? Didn't we win 5 of 6 or 5, 4 or 5? Sunbelt did pretty good last year.
They did very well last year. from what
We
I
were
remember.
trumpeting that pretty loud and tooting our own horns, but
I think you did well. Everybody did well except for App State. The team
yeah,
that we all
they
thought was
embarrassed
gonna-
all of us. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with App State, but guys, thanks for your picks.
No, thank y'all.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks for carving out some precious time to come onto this podcast and educate us on some of these teams, because really Tibbs and I know nothing. So it was good to have that education and educate our listeners, all 6 of them, and we appreciate it. Tibbs?
Yeah, thanks much for coming on.
Tibbs, say
Look forward
something
to it.
nice to these guys.
I'm trying to. Get back to drinking your Busch Light or whatever you're drinking.
The Busch
We got there.
lattes.
Yeah, what do you
This
got
is the
there?
seltzer water. This is generic seltzer water from Kroger.
Oh.
That's like one of those sleeves you put on there so
Yeah.
the cops don't come and bust you on the beat. Jeremy, all the talk obviously of basketball, of football, because it's bowl season, but right around the corner it's baseball season. And the man that was the coach of the year last year, player of the year last year, also hailed from San Marcos, and that's Steve Trout, joins us, the head coach of the Bobcats. Welcome in there, Coach.
Hey, good morning, guys. How we doing?
Great. So,
Absolutely good. Yes.
Coach, you get shipped out last year to the West Coast to play Stanford in that NCAA regional. I was trying to pull for you, but I couldn't stay up that late. It was past my bedtime. Take me back to that season, though, and kind of how that regional shook out for you, and what are the benefits you've seen of knowing you were regular season champs and in the finals of that regional game?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal year, and credit goes to our players of taking a bad year of 21 and doing everything they can to flip this program around. And so they took everything we asked them to do and ran with it. And to start the season, you always like your team going into the season, right? I don't think you ever go into a season going, hey, we're going to be terrible. But I thought we had some key pieces that were going to be important. And so, but still a lot of unknown. And so we started getting through the season. We went out to Arizona and won that series, which kind of started opening some eyes, and then split the Texas series midweek. And started rolling into conference. And so as a team started gathering momentum and confidence, and then our guy, Tristan Stivers, closer of the year, started stepping up and felt like closing every single baseball game. It got fun. And so it was an older veteran team, and ended up winning the Sun Belt. And that was a great year for us. And then they shipped us out to Stanford, and which I was excited about. In the past, when I was here in 2009, they sent us right up the road to Austin, and then they did that again in 2011. So we just assumed we were either going to Austin or going to College Station, and that's just the easy send. And then when that passed us by, it was like, okay, looks like Stillwater. And then all of a sudden it was like, here comes Stanford. And most of our guys weren't even paying attention to the screen when they announced us. And so because they weren't expecting it, but I was excited because we've never been there. So we got to see another place. And then more importantly, even though Stanford was number 2 in the country, we knew nobody on their team. They weren't recruited with them. They didn't play with them growing up. So you were just going out there playing baseball against guys you didn't know. And so, but what a loaded regional with Stanford and then Santa Barbara. Also I think they had 44, 45 wins going in to the regional as well. And so, found a way to win the Santa Barbara game, and then had a great game against Stanford that night. Levi Wells was really dominant. And then, it was really close to taking home the regional championship, and we're 3 out short, but what a great experience and a memory we'll never forget, and something that still makes us hungry going into this 23 season.
You mentioned Levi Wells, one of your big returners there, as well as Zeke Woods. What do they bring to the table to really shore up that pitching staff?
Yeah, I feel like we're heading into the season with 2 aces, to be honest with you. It's really nice to have from a coach's perspective, and they're really good. Levi, came in with a really big arm, but kind of had some command issues and kind of inconsistent. But you didn't see that last year, and he went to the Cape this summer, and he actually closed out in the Cape to keep his innings limit down. And then he came back this fall and was just super dominant. And then same thing with Zeke. Zeke has really continued to get stronger, and he's back lifting heavy in the weight room, which we kind of had to go against last year because of some things with his legs. But now he's back getting stronger than ever. So his velo's actually taking some tick up a little bit, and his breaking ball's gotten even better. So to me, we kind of had that 2-headed monster heading out with Friday and Saturday, and it's really nice to have going into the season.
Player of the year, Dalton Sheffield. Sorry, I can never say it correctly. 10th round draft pick last year, already in AAA. Is that surprising that he was drafted kind of that high and has already just rocketed through the minors?
You coach these guys every once in a while that, you always get surprised by either their size or whatever they do. But Dalton's one of those guys that it never surprises me. He's a smaller guy. Everybody told him he was always too small. They always pick shortstops to be better than him. And the guy just always outplayed everybody. And so we were lucky to have him on our team. And then he rolled right through the minors. Part of it was there was an injury, I think, in their organization, and it was late in the season. And as I told him when he called me to tell me, I was like, hey man, like, one, you can always tell your kids and everybody you played in AAA. I said, number 2, if you play well enough, it's really hard to send you back down. And so he went out there and completely dominated, and I think almost hit 300 or right at 300, and played well. So really proud of him. But he'll play in the big leagues. I'll be really shocked if he doesn't play in the big leagues, just because he's been proving people wrong his whole life. And so that's just what he does. But yeah, what a great year and a few months of pro baseball.
Coach, a couple of years ago, you had a losing season. It was really bad. You had I think something like a historical number of losses, bounced back with a historical number of wins, went to the College World Series, or at least to the NCAA tournament. My question to you is, what's the difference in recruiting between coming off that losing season and coming off that big public winning season?
Yeah, the class that was on campus last year as a freshman was our highest ranked class in school history. And so I believe we're in the top 35 in the country. So part of that is obviously my staff worked extremely hard, led by Coach Blakely, my recruiting coordinator. But the facilities they've built here at Texas State are just unbelievable. And so we have a great place to walk recruits through and sell. It used to be a vision. Now we walk through it. And so we've always had a nice yard to go to work in, but now with new locker rooms and weight rooms and training rooms. And then we have some new things actually happening that we're about to unveil as well. So they're steadily trying to improve our program from a facility standpoint to help out recruiting. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, when guys are watching us on ESPN play against Stanford and seeing what we're doing, guys want to be a part of that. So the conversation is a lot easier as far as getting guys excited about Texas State. And so, which has led to signing some great players. And so really, really excited about our class on campus right now and excited about our future classes as well.
Coach, I also wondered, I know that when you're about to play a team, you've looked at the video and you've studied their lineups, but in the off season, are you kind of watching what other Sunbelt programs are doing? Or are you more tunnel vision looking at your own program?
Yeah, it's strictly on our program. I actually was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday who coaches at Old Dominion, and we were talking about, hey, how was the fall and all the above? And I was like, the Sunbelt's going to be really, really, really good. I was like, personnel wise, I couldn't tell you who's back on each team because honestly, until we play them that week, I usually don't look at their stats. I'll see the highlights on Twitter or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's all in on the Bobcats all the time, trying to figure out how to get our guys better and obviously from the academic and then also on the field standpoint. And then trying to get them home for Christmas and get them back in January. So there's not enough time to think about anybody else. We're always just thinking about how we can get our program better and our guys better.
I know you're not worried about what's on those other rosters, but do you call Commissioner Keith Gill or talk to the Don and say, Don, who at the league office hates us that we have to play at Coastal, at South, at Troy, at Old Dominion, at Louisiana Lafayette?
Yeah, the funny part is last year we had all those teams at home. Obviously Old Dominion wasn't in the program, so we had an unbelievable home schedule. And so we kind of knew it was coming, that it was going to flip at some point in time. And so it doesn't matter with our league. I think the beauty part about the Sun Belt, it doesn't matter where you go play. You got a challenge in any ballpark. Every team now, they're working harder than ever. And the same thing, the facilities have gotten unbelievable in the Sun Belt compared to when I hopped in 2016. So, really good league with great facilities and great coaches. So it doesn't matter who you're going to go play. You got to go play really good baseball, and you'll have a chance to win if you do that.
Last year was the first year the conference tournament there was in Montgomery at the Biscuits Stadium, Riverwalk Stadium. What are your thoughts there of playing at these minor league facilities as opposed to having it on campus?
Yeah, it's been good. We've been there. I think they've done a great job with downtown Montgomery. You're really close to the ballpark from the hotel, so you can walk over and watch other team play, and they've done a good job with the restaurants. And besides the weather last year that screwed everything up, which it seems to always hit at conference tournament time. But no, it's been good, and so I like it from the neutral location, just because you're really not going to get a whole lot of fans. It seems like a lot of times at those tournaments. So to me, it kind of gives everybody that even mix of fans and families and all the above. And so it's centrally located, so it's right there in the middle of it. And it's a unique ballpark too, with the train that runs behind left field, and it's kind of a historic ballpark. So I enjoy going there and playing there. Hopefully one of the days we'll leave there with the trophy as well.
Coach, within the Sun Belt, who do you find to be or where do you find, it doesn't necessarily need to be the opponent, but where is the toughest place to play?
Let's see here. I always go off of where our record is, right? Doesn't mean it's the toughest place. Some places leave bad taste in your mouth just because you got there and got beat. And so we've always had a tough time at Coastal. That's always been a place that we haven't won a lot of baseball games. And so I think they play really well at their ballpark, and just something about it. Even in 19, the tournament was there, and we went 0-2 in the tournament. And so we've just had a tough time winning at Coastal. So I'm actually really excited to head out there this spring and hopefully change that taste. I think outside of that, Lafayette's always, I actually really enjoy it because the people are great people. It's the only place, that they get real loud and rowdy and really don't trash talk a whole lot, but you definitely feel their presence. And then after the game, they feed you. So they tell you how good of a game you played. And so I love going to play there because it's such a unique place. And so yeah, as far as wins and losses, I'm not a big fan of going to Coastal, but love going to play at Lafayette just because of the fans and they're going to pack it out.
think Jeremy's going to shed a tear there that you didn't say Jonesboro.
No, I did not expect Jonesboro to rise to that.
I do like Jonesboro. I used to like Little Rock because that's the closest. I'm from right outside of Texarkana. So that's my hometown. So I usually get to see family. So we went to Jonesboro last year. We actually stopped at my parents' house and fed the whole team. So that was the one sad part about UTA and Little Rock leaving is not as close to Hooks, Texas anymore. So
well, that is a question that I'd like to ask you about. What would you think about UTA leaving? I know that was a nice Texas rivalry. Will you miss it, or will you be like good riddance?
Yeah, no, we enjoyed it. Good buddy of mine just got the head job there too, in Clavin Hook, and so we liked it because obviously it was the one time we could hop on a bus and go play. Compared to we're the farthest team west in our conference. So, but yeah, just the rivalry. I know our basketball team kind of kept it going this year as well and played those guys up in Fort Worth last week. And so, but yeah, I didn't like them leaving just because it was another Texas team that we could stay close to home and play.
So Jeremy, we're in the midst of a celebrity, not only because he is the reigning coach of the year in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
He was a YouTube sensation, being a part of the Playing for Peanuts that documented Wally Blackman coaching in that league. And Steve was against him in the championship game. So Coach, tell us about Wally Blackman and that whole experience in the South Plains.
Yeah, when I got done playing at TCU, I was playing for the Fort Worth Cats. As I told Dusty earlier, I didn't realize there was trades in Indy Bowl. But a month in, I got traded out to Macon, Georgia. And there was a new league and played for the Macon Music. And it was great because I got to play every day. And it was in a historic ballpark, Williams Field, which the movie 42 I know was shot there. Some other movies were shot there. I couldn't tell you all of them, but a really historic ballpark. But yeah, Wally Blackman was there for the Peanuts, and it was a show, man. I didn't really know because I was a little bit younger of who he was, and then once I kind of started talking to the guys and saw him ripping some umpires, like, who is this guy? I actually got to hang out with him a little bit too when we were playing them one time, and so yeah, that was a treat to see. But I just remember they were really, really good. So we were in the finals, but I don't think we really had a good chance against them. So, but yeah, that was a treat to see. And then the YouTube came out, and I was like, yeah, I think I might have been in the other dugout or around there somewhere. So, but good times.
And yeah, you play for Phil Plantier. I mean, another big baseball name there.
Hey, and the crazy part about it is, so I got there, I was a rookie. I wasn't very good. I was just playing just to say I played pro ball. And Phil actually he gave me this crazy stance. He's like, hey, what's going on? It's not working. So here, go hit like this. And I'm like, why is this guy wanting me to hit this way? Like, it's so uncomfortable. And I actually started hitting pretty well. Well, I went back and I watched his video. That's how he hit. And I'm like, God almighty, what is he doing to me? So, but he had this goofy stance, and it obviously really worked for him. It worked for me, but then I got back home in the offseason and didn't feel comfortable, so I changed it. But yeah, that was a beauty to see as well. He was a great manager, and some good memories from Indy Bowl.
So, Coach, on a personal aspect, you get your Christmas shopping done?
I sure did. I gave my wife my credit card. So
that's the key.
I bought a couple of gifts. So we're good.
All right, yeah, because I'm still behind. So
batting helmets and bats for everyone.
That's right. There's a lot of Texas State gear passed out at Christmas. So.
That's awesome. Always, if you're going to do a little marketing, market to your family first. That's
right.
Key.
Exactly.
So, Coach, last thing before we let you go, baseball is definitely a game of superstitions. What's your superstition before the game, during game, or even post game?
Yeah, I'm very routine oriented. And so for me, it's about not necessarily like eating the same thing or all the above, but I kind of find my places to stand. I kind of switch it up. I have my place I stand at home all the time, but if we're not getting a couple guys out, I might take a step up and stand on that step for a little while longer, or move a step down. And so, but to me, just when things are going good, I'm going to keep the same routines kind of before the games on, either walking back over the locker room or listen to music, whatever it might be. I was way worse as a player. I'll be honest with you. I was really, how many times I undid my batting gloves to how many times I breathed, a lot of stuff. And I started figuring out later on that really didn't matter. So, I try to tell our guys all the time that, superstitions are fun. I like to take it more towards the routine part of it, of having just a good routine, but not making that understand that's not why we're winning baseball games or why why you're getting hits. Kind of like the guy that always changes bats. I make fun of Pena all the time because one of our best players, Daniel Pena, first baseman, he uses a different bat almost every at bat. Like I'm like, hey, why are you changing bats, coach? This one's got hits in it this time, And I'm like, hey man, sometimes it's just that swing, right? So, but yeah, for us, we just try to stay routine oriented. So I don't have a lot to give on that, just besides, I move steps up back and forth, especially in that crunch time, trying to find that comfortable spot to make sure we get that dub.
Coach, I'm looking forward to it. My Warhawks come to San Marcos in late May. Always a great time going to San Marcos. I love San Marcos. I wish I would have known about Southwest Texas State when I was a student. Yeah, I'd probably still be a student, as a matter of fact.
Well, if you don't do the podcast from the river, you're doing this whole podcast thing wrong. So bring your tube, sit in the river, right there behind the basketball arena, right there. That'd be a great place, and yeah, make it a Zoom that time. So it's a great spot to relax, especially that's in May, right? So it'll be good and hot down here. The water's 72 degrees, and so you can get that tube and knock out your podcast.
When we had Don Corleone on, he said we were going to float the river and drink beers all day. So I mean, it's just more and more appealing.
And when we get arrested, Steve, we're going to be like, we're here at the invitation of Steve Trout. So you're going to have to uncuff us and let us get back to our podcast.
All I said is just hop in the river. That's all I said.
Thank you so much for joining us, Coach, and looking forward to seeing how the Bobcats do this upcoming season.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
So, Jeremy, there was our interview with Steve Trout. No relation to Mike Trout, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. I was confused. I was going to ask him about it.
But how great is that he's YouTube famous for being on the Making Music or playing for Peanuts. You got to check it out on YouTube. It was great. I mean, it's more focused on the South Georgia Peanuts and Wally Blackman of the old 86 Mets. But still great to know that he was a part of that. And really, you get to see the bench clearing brawl and everything else throughout the show.
Wally, yeah, he was one of those guys on what do you call it? RBI baseball for Nintendo. That he was on that Mets team that I used to play with at Strawberry and Dykstra and Mookie and Wally and all those guys. So, yeah, that actually made me feel old just listening to that story. So it's a lot.
We went to church a couple weeks back.
Oh yeah,
not expecting this, and out walks Darryl Strawberry as one of the guest speakers. And my wife's like, "Do you know who that is?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I do." 86 Met, Darryl Strawberry.
Straw that stirs the drink, right there.
Exactly.
You know who's the most famous run-in I've ever had? Judge Nelson.
If you don't even know who it is, I'm going to say no.
Judge Reinhold.
No, I definitely don't.
You never saw Beverly Hills Cop or God, what's the one where Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Those were before my time, Jeremy.
Didn't see any of those movies. Anyway, he came out of the bathroom as I was going in. I was like, Judge Reinhold. And he's like, yeah, and walked off. That was my brush with fame.
So it's no different than how we treat you.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like, hey, fuck you, get out of the way.
Plugs, promos, parting shots, Jeremy.
Parting shots. I've been thinking about the state of college football and what the transfer portal and NIL deals are doing. And it's like sort of this I don't know, perfect storm of stuff that no one really knows how to handle. We've had some different takes on what should be done. We talked with the group of 5 guys about what should be done with the NIL and with the transfer portal. One of the things I was thinking of, Arkansas State, for instance, has been doing really well on the recruiting trail, coming up with some pretty good recruits. Going to have probably the best recruiting in the Sun Belt again this year, which is going to be great. And I can't help but to think, are we going to recruit these guys and develop these guys, and some of them might become actual stars, only to see them transfer after 2 or 3 years? Maybe you were right, Thibodeau, about Jake Spavital and his approach. to building a team. And that was just taking a bunch of transfer guys that he didn't have to develop, guys that have become pre-developed, pre-packaged, ready to plug into your lineup. Let's go. I mean, why should these group of 5 teams with limited resources, limited money, have to spend all this developmental time on these players only to have them say, adios, I'm going to pick up that big coin somewhere else? Why should we be doing all that? Maybe we should play the game a little smarter and just do as you suggested. Go to the transfer wire, pick up a bunch of malcontent P5s and let them develop. Let them develop our talent. Let the P5s develop our talent, Thibs. That's what we should be doing if we were smart. That's my parting shot. Don't have a plug or a promo. It's all up to you.
Mine's kind of none of the above.
Ooh.
And it's more about the passing of the legend, the pirate,
okay.
Mike Leach.
Yes.
Earlier this year, Bobby Bowden, the patriarch of college football and of the Bowden family, passed as well. In part, Terry Bowden released a letter today talking about the passing of Mike Leach and the ties there. The letter ends with the best line ever.
Okay.
If there's a football game to be played in heaven, I'm sure my dad, Bobby, and Mike Leach will be on the headsets calling the plays while all the angels in the stands will be shaking their Mississippi State cowbells.
Oh, that's so nice.
Tear to your eye.
That's great. Yeah, Leach's passing really kind of reminds you how fragile life can be. He went from a guy who was dropping his bon mots left and right, ready to play his bowl game. I know Mississippi State players have announced that they were all in and dedicating their bowl game to the memory of Mike Leach. But it's a reminder that that we only have so much time on this mortal coil, Thibodeau, and we need to do the best that we can to make the most out of it. So also want to talk about or throw in there the passing of Grant Wall, a giant in the coverage of soccer. He was a man my age out there in Qatar, died of a heart attack. So that's one of these things that you've got to make sure you hug your kids, hug your wife, call your mom and dad, do whatever it takes, because you might not be here tomorrow.
But we'll be back next week there, Jeremy.
You and I, we're going to be back. And Shane hopefully comes back.
We hope so.
Did we
miss
run
you,
out,
Shane.
Shane? We do miss you, Shane. It was good to have the group of 5 guys to give us some kind of legitimacy, but no, Shane, you are the ultimate stamp of quality, and we need you back. Yeah, I'm going to go off on something stupid.